Thank you, Roxy. I appreciate everybody taking time out of their busy day for this course. One thing we always like to do, if there's a way to do this, is to find out how many veterans are on the call. So if we've got a way to tally that up, that'd be great. Again, it's one of the benefits of completing this course, and I will walk you through this at the end of the presentation, but by taking this course, you will be able to use a VLB designation in your marketing, and so at the completion of the course, you'll be able to call yourselves VLB Preferred Real Estate Professionals, and I'll go through that again at the end of the course. This is Barry Corbin on the first slide. He's, of course, a Texas actor who is also a Marine, and we're happy to have him helping us with our marketing. It's not advancing here.
Okay, guys, give us 1 second here. Let's go to the next one.
All right. And we want to thank Jerry Patterson, the state's land commissioner, for his service as chairman of the VLB. Jerry ran for lieutenant governor and didn't make the playoffs this year, so we're going to lose him. But it's been great having a veteran at the head of the land board. The one thing I want people to get out of this program is that every time you meet a prospective real estate client, ask him or her if they've served, because you might be surprised that 1 out of every 8 adults you meet in Texas is either serving or served. We have the second largest vet population in the country behind California, with nearly 1.8 million veterans in Texas. We also have close to 200,000 active duty, reserve, and guard. We have the largest contingent of women veterans in Texas, and we appreciate the service and sacrifices that the ladies make. The whole reason we have a Veterans Land Board is after World War II, the legislature wanted to honor the service of the men and women who fought in that conflict, and they said, you know, one thing that veterans need when they come home are jobs. And we have a long history of farming and ranching in Texas. So let's use the state's authority to issue tax-exempt bonds so we can create a pool of money that we can loan out to veterans to buy farms and ranches. So that's the way the program was conceived in 1946. We made our first land loan in 1949, and that's pretty much all we did until the early 80s, when the legislature recognized that another thing that veterans could benefit from would be affordable housing. So we added a home loan program, and unlike our land loan program and our home improvement program, where the state of Texas is the direct lender, in our home loan program we use a network of third-party banks, credit unions, and mortgage companies who actually originate those loans, and I'll go over that program in detail. We added a home improvement loan product in 1986, and there are 2 other programs that we run that have nothing to do with real estate. We have built 8 skilled care nursing homes across the state for veterans and their spouses, with number 9 coming online in the Houston area in a few years. And then we have built 4 state veteran cemeteries to complement the 4 federal military cemeteries in the state of Texas. But we're going to talk about real estate today. The biggest misconception I get out there is people confuse the Veterans Land Board with the VA, and it's an easy mistake to make because they both offering benefits to our veterans. Easiest thing to remember, the VA is the feds, they're in Washington, and they don't have any money. That's not what the VA does. The federal benefit is a guarantee of the mortgage so that the veteran borrower doesn't have to put any money down on the mortgage. The state of Texas is offering a complementary benefit, which is a below market interest rate on what's typically a VA loan. So if you do get pushback from a veteran client saying, no, I've already used my VA, you might want to probe a little bit and find out, well, just because you've used the VA guarantee once, you may have additional eligibility and you can use it another time in conjunction with the VLE's program. So don't take no for an answer until you ask that question. And we like to brag, we are still the only state with a veterans land loan program, and we were the first of what are now 6 states that offers a veterans mortgage assistance program. A couple of quick facts about our loan programs. Again, we have home loan, land loan, home improvement loan, and a veteran who qualifies can have one of each of those types of loans at any given time. Every time they pay off a category of loan, they're eligible to apply for another loan of that same flavor. All the properties that we fund have to be wholly located in the state of Texas, and they're all subject to credit approval. So when we say that a veteran is eligible for our program, what we're saying is that he or she meets the criteria to apply for our loans. But again, they have to have the credit history and the income to be approved for any of our loans. Two things to keep in mind. You can't use our bond fund to pay a home builder directly to build a new home from the ground up for a veteran. So I'm going to talk a little bit later in the presentation about how to do construction financing in conjunction with our permanent financing. The other thing you cannot do is to use our bond fund to refinance an existing mortgage, because according to the IRS, the veteran is getting a tax benefit with the purchase money up front, and they don't want that veteran double dipping by refinancing in that same pool of money. Now, it used to be that to participate in our loan programs, a veteran had to begin his or her military service stationed in Texas and live here for a whole year before they could apply. And we came to the realization that we were keeping hundreds of thousands of veterans who got here as fast as they could from getting those benefits. So now any veteran who serves at least 90 days of active duty, was not dishonorably discharged, and plans to stay and lives in Texas and plans to stay here is eligible. Typically, that residency is we get the resident for anybody who basically qualifies to get a Texas driver's license. In addition, the unremarried surviving spouse of an eligible Texas veteran who was either missing in action, killed in action, or died because of service-related cause may be eligible for our programs. There are two eligibility forms that typically our participating home loan lender is going to fill out on behalf of the veteran. We also need a copy of a federal form called a DD-214 from the veteran that shows us the service record and the status of the discharge. So once we have those documents in our hands, it takes the VLB only a day to generate what we call an eligibility letter, which basically tells the participating home loan lender that this veteran it qualifies to apply for a loan. That eligibility is good for a year. If you have a veteran client who takes more than a year to find his or her dream house, God bless you for that, but no big deal to us because it only takes one day to get in another year's worth of eligibility. Okay? Let's talk about the home loan program. The VLB can finance up to $417,000 to purchase primary residence. It's no coincidence that that $417,000 is also the maximum cumulative VA guarantee that a veteran can have. Okay, it's got to be the primary residence of the veteran. We can fund a loan to purchase pretty much any kind of housing other than an old school mobile home. If you do have a client that wants to use our program to buy manufactured or modular homes, they've got to meet FHA guidelines, such as being delivered in at least two pieces to the home site, a sloped roof, and a permanent foundation. The bad news for those home buyers is that only a handful of our participating lenders will loan money on manufactured modular homes. But you can find a participating lender on the VLB website, which is texasveterans.com. And shortly we expect to update our lender profiles so that we will see which of them will offer financing for manufactured modular homes as well as those who do construction financing. If you have a veteran client who wants to buy a condo, that condo has to be in a VA-approved condominium development. What the VA is looking for is a development that is at least 50% owner-occupied, because we don't want to park a veteran in one of these condo ghost towns that you see in Phoenix, Las Vegas, Miami, other places that were overbuilt. If you have a veteran client interested in multifamily housing, we can finance a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex. But there's a requirement that the building be at least 5 years old at the date of sale, because we want to see rental history on that property. We don't want to put a veteran who's never been a landlord into that risky position of keeping a tenant next door. Now, 9 times out of 10, our participating lenders are going to underwrite VA loans for these veteran borrowers, but about 3% of our loans are underwritten FHA, and the remainder conventional. Typically, a veteran who uses our home loan program is going to choose a 30-year term. Unlike a traditional mortgage market where when you reduce the term from 30 years to 15, you get about a 1% break on the interest rate. Well, we don't have that kind of a program. Basically, we'll set a base rate and then there'll be a discount for certain disabled veterans, and I'll go over that here in a minute. And again, a reminder, no refinancing or construction loans. Now, most of our participating lenders are going to want to see a plain vanilla real estate transaction. Here's a good example, one that might give a little pause to a lender. Here's a better example. This is a condo development in Hope, Arkansas. And of course, it doesn't qualify because it's single wides and it's in Arkansas. Thank you. If your clients are concerned about the maximum loan-to-value ratios on the loans, it depends on how those loans are underwritten. So look at the guidelines for VA, FHA, and conventional loans. And because 9 times out of 10, the veteran is going to use his or her VA entitlement, so they don't have to put any money down. There's not a lot of need for down payment assistance for veterans, but if you do have a veteran who, say, does not qualify for a VA loan, you might look into some of the first-time home buyer programs that are sponsored by the state's Department of Housing and Community Affairs or the state's Affordable Housing Corporation. They have some great programs that you ought to look at that include a competitive mortgage rate and also some home buyer financing of the closing costs and down payment assistance. They also have mortgage credit certificates that you might look at. But again, typically our borrowers are going to qualify for that VA no money down loan. Now, if you have a situation where the veteran needs a co-borrower to qualify for a loan, it can technically be done as a VA underwrite, but most of our loan officers say that's a very tricky transaction, so we typically advise the veteran to look at FHA underwriting, which of course is more expensive, but it's better to have an expensive loan than to keep on rent and not build equity in that home. Let's talk about construction financing. Since you can't use our fund to pay the home builder directly, we need to find a participating lender that will do construction financing, or we need to refer the borrower to an institution that will pay that home builder. Now, in this market, typically a veteran is going to have excellent credit history to be able to qualify for a construction loan. I've heard ranges from a middle score of 650 all the way up to the high 700s. So you can shop around, and again, hopefully within the next month, you will be able to see which of our participating lenders does construction lending. The other and perhaps bigger impediment to a veteran getting a construction loan is the requirement from the lender that the borrower put some sort of a security deposit down, because that's typically 10 to 20% of the construction cost. So on a $300,000 new construction, that veteran's got to come up with $30,000 to $60,000 cash to secure that construction loan. But let's assume we have a veteran who meets all those criteria. If he has an outstanding land loan, whether it's through the VLB or through a private lender, we're going to roll that land note up into the construction loan. Then at completion of construction, the permanent financing will take out the construction loan, which also includes the land loan, and thus reduces the effective interest rate that veteran borrower had on the land loan. The other requirement the VLB has for new construction is that it be Energy Star rated or the equivalent. We think this is important to veterans for 2 reasons. First, it saves them money on utilities, plain and simple. The other important benefit is that an Energy Star rated home will sell for more than the same floor plan without that Energy Star rating. Now, we did have a conversation with some Texas home builders who pointed out that even though Energy Star is a great program that clients understand, it's a very expensive way to build an energy efficient home, because the feds prescribe how that energy efficient efficiency rating is reached. So we got a waiver from EPA who said, look, as long as a new home can achieve a home energy rating or HERS rating of 75 or below, it's functionally equivalent to an Energy Star rating. So now we've got more options for the home builders to meet our requirements, and of course the veterans have more options in terms of the home builders they can use to construct that new home. Good news for all Texas homeowners is that more than half of the homes built in Texas every year are Energy Star certified. Now, the one exception to this energy efficiency requirement is where you have a spec home, or what we call inventory on the ground, where the spec builder completes the home, it gets a certificate of occupancy or a final inspection report from the county, and it's ready to put on the market. And the veteran drives up and she says, oh, I love this house, I'm going to buy it. Well, you can't retroactively do one of the key tests in an energy efficiency rating because that has to happen before the drywall goes up. So since you can't do that retroactively, we do not require any particular energy rating on new homes that are spec homes. Okay? Let's talk about lender fees. Each of our participating home loan lenders will charge a 1% origination fee, and then the customary fees you see in a residential real estate transaction. In addition, most of our participating lenders are going to charge a 1% participation fee. And one of the benefits of our program is that a veteran who goes to a VA lender, whether it's one of our participating lenders or not, is going to get the best rate for a VA loan only if they have outstanding credit, typically in the mid 700s. Well, in our program, our participating lenders are typically looking for a middle score of 620 or higher. So if you have a veteran with outstanding credit, he or she may actually come out a little bit ahead at closing by just doing a standalone VA loan. Because of the way the fees are calculated. But again, typically that veteran borrower without our program would have to pay discount points to the lender to get a lower interest rate. So your participating lender is going to be doing the best thing to give that veteran options. Here's what it looks like as a standalone VA. Here's what it looks like if we use that VA loan with the VLB interest rate. And again, we remind no discount points are allowed because it's the state of Texas setting the interest rate, not the mortgage lender. We do change our rates on our home loan and home improvement loan products every Friday after the market closes. That gives our participating lenders a little visibility into which way the 30-year mortgage market is going. This week, our base rate is 3.71%. And the good news for any veteran who has a service-connected disability rating from the VA of 30% or greater, we give an additional discount of 50 basis points. So that service-connected disabled veteran is going to get a 3.21% rate this week. And there's just no way that a mortgage lender is going to beat that rate. So it's certainly going to be a benefit for those disabled veterans. In addition, the surviving unremarried spouse of a veteran who qualified for that discount at the time he or she passed is also going to be eligible for that discount. Let's move, unless we have any questions on the home loan.
Actually, this might be a good time to recognize our veterans. We have Isaac Collier, Jason Branson, Lisa Howard is married to a vet, Donna Bell, Army 70 to 72, looks like Joyce Bauer, late husband was a vet. Amy Berger, husband active reserves and just returned from Afghanistan. We have Marilyn Jones, who's a widow of a vet. Charles Brown, Pam Douglas is a U.S. Navy Vietnam vet. And Melinda Whitehead is a wife of a vet. So
that's great. Well, I appreciate the service of those who served and appreciate the sacrifices of all of you who, like me, was a military, part of a military family and did what we could to support our veteran parents.
And we have one more that just put hers on here, Denise Avery, U.S. Navy vet.
Oh, yeah, the question here is a widow of a deceased veteran that did not die of service-related injury qualified? And the answer would be sadly no. Has to be a situation where the veteran died because of a service-connected disability.
Okay.
Let's talk about home improvement loans really quickly, because realtors don't get involved in this, but it is a very valuable benefit to our veterans. We can loan up to $25,000 to fix up a veteran's primary residence. We'll give the veteran up to 20 years to pay off that note, unless it's a loan under $10,000, in which case we give the veteran up to 10 years to pay. It's a good time for me to interject that all of our loan products may be prepaid without any penalty, so it's no big deal to pay that off early. It's an FHA-backed loan with no mortgage insurance, no money down, and the best thing about it, we're offering home improvement money at the same interest rate as a home loan. Now, if you've got really good credit, you could go to the credit union today and get a home equity line of credit or a home improvement loan for anywhere from high 4% all the way up to 8%, whereas we're giving away that money for under 4% this week. So it's a real benefit to those who want to fall back in love with the house they're already in. What we do is put the veteran in the place of a general contractor. So he or she has to find at least 2 bidders to submit proposals. The veteran chooses who he or she wants to work with. We remind that even veterans who have remodeling skills, you can't contract with yourself in the state of Texas, so we say hire your brother. We basically are going to help put together a contract and a schedule. We will have a closing in a title company, and then within 4 days we will fund that loan directly to the veteran, who has to pay draws according to the schedule. If we need to send an inspector out to get the work back on track, we can do that. We can also send out an inspector to do the final inspection and pay that last 10% draw after the work is done. This is an example of something we can't use the home improvement money on, whether it's got a pool liner or not. The message here is it's a very short list of things the VLB won't let a veteran spend the home improvement money on. Those would be swimming pools, hot tubs, lawn sprinkler systems, appliances that are not built in. Those would be the big categories. But there's about 5 times as many allowable expenses as there are unqualified projects. And I'll look if there are any questions on home improvements. No. Let's move on to land loans. We say everybody needs a little piece of Texas because they don't make it anymore. So this is where we started our benefits for veterans. Currently, we can lend up to $100,000 to a veteran to purchase a minimum of 1 acre anywhere in the state of Texas. We offer a 30-year fixed rate note. The interest rate is 6.75%. That rate does not change very often. It's been 2.5 years since we lowered it to 6 3/4. There are also no disability discounts for the home loan like there are for the home and home improvement loan. One of the best features of this product is that typically we only require the veteran to put 5% down. Now, a veteran could walk into a private farm and ranch lender and probably get a little bit lower interest rate than the VLB's rate, but they're going to have to pay that loan off in about half the time and make a down payment of anywhere from 20 or 40%. Now, for any particular veteran and his or her family, they may have the wherewithal to make those larger monthly payments. We're simply trying to make land ownership more affordable for more veterans. Used to be, we would hold title to those land loans until the veteran paid off the note. We came to realize that we were keeping that veteran from tapping any equity he or she had accrued in that property over time due to either appreciation or improvement. And we said that's wrong. So now when we close a land loan for a veteran, we give the deed to the property to the veteran.
Steve, we have a question that's come through. The question is, I have a VA customer that locked a rate last week for 3.85. Can he get the new rate? We are still on the option period. Thanks.
Yeah, if you basically have not signed an agreement to formalize that loan, I would certainly invite you to talk to one of our participating home loan lenders. Again, you have to use a participating VLB lender in order to get our below market interest rate. And again, that 385 is probably a little high right now, depending on your client's credit score. Again, if you would go to our website and search for a lender, and then you should be able to find plenty of lenders in the North Texas area that work with our program.
Okay, great.
Okay, back to land loans. Another thing that was true about our program is we had a reputation for taking as long as 6 months to close a land loan, and we were guilty as charged. So a gentleman named Paul Moore ran our agency for many years until he retired last year. And one of the things he wanted to leave as a legacy was to have the VLB be able to close on a land loan within 30 days of getting the final contract in hand. So we've achieved that, and for the last 2 years we've been closing those land loans in under 30 days. So we're very proud of that. We have moved our land loan program to an automated situation. It's got an online application where we can process it more quickly. The application fee is $325. Most of that covers the appraisal. And since we have far more veterans who get a preliminary approval for a land loan from us but never can find the land that they want, we are going to refund any application fee that we didn't have to spend on getting an appraisal. We use the TREC Farm and Ranch contract, which is currently Form 25-10. You may have a transaction where you want to use the unimproved property contract, so use that where it applies.
We have another question, Steve. How many land loans can be held at one time?
Great question. A veteran can have one of each of our loan products, a home loan, a home improvement loan, and a land loan at the same time. So again, you can only have one of each of our loan products at any given time unless you pay off one of those categories. So in this case, if the veteran has a VLB land loan, he or she would have to pay it off before he or she could apply for a subsequent VLB land loan.
Great, thanks.
We do recommend that veterans who want to use our land loan program get a preliminary approval letter. And all we need to know is either the estimated sales price if the veteran has identified the specific plot of land, or can just say, hey, based on my income and credit history, how much up to the $100,000 will you loan me? Because you don't want a situation where you're out shopping and you've got a 1 acre budget but a King Ranch appetite. One last thing to share about the land market in Texas. Our friends at the Real Estate Center at Texas A&M put out a report on raw land sales every year, and from 1997 through 2012, raw land prices in Texas went up 10% a year, year over year for 15 years. And last year, calendar year 2013, acreage sold in parcels of 200 acres or less, what they call small parcels. The average price of a small parcel sale last year in Texas went up almost 20%. So there is a land rush. We cannot find enough quality land to meet the demand just for our veterans. So, and we do a lot to help work with them to identify those properties. Again, it's a great program, and we really do push land ownership onto our veterans who want to do that. Any other questions?
Nothing. We do have a couple more veterans that identify themselves so. We have William Jackson, who's a vet, and we also have James White, who was in the Air Force from 1955 to 1966.
Awesome. Thank you both for your service. Now, not every veteran who uses our land loan program is able to keep up with the payments because life happens. And we have a very good group of people in our organization who do workouts on land loans, and currently we're able to do a workout on roughly 3 out of every 4 problematic land loans, which is a great number for us. But unfortunately, the ones that we can't do a workout on have to forfeit that property to the Veterans Land Board. what we do with forfeited land is first we will give first crack at veterans. And just yesterday was our quarterly veterans only forfeited land sale. And we call that a type 1 sale. You can go on the VLB website under forfeited land sales, and the type 1 sale yesterday offered 9 pieces of property across the state that had been given back to the state for non-payment of the loan. We typically put a minimum bid on each of those tracts, and that is the appraised value of the land. And the bids in this quarterly sale for veterans are due by the end of the third Tuesday of January, April, July, and October. So there will be another one coming up in January. Of course, a veteran who has the income and credit history to finance their land purchase may get that purchase financed. No big deal. And all those properties are offered as is. If there's ranch trash or farm implements there, or a tire pile, that's going to be up to the buyer to take care of.
We have another question, Steve. I bid on a property, but the land did not appraise for the price that the Texas Veterans Land Board wanted. Why do they not get an appraisal before they asked for an asking price?
I'm rereading the question here. Bear with me. This issue's never come up in the 3.5 years I've been with the VLB. I'm not aware of a situation where our appraisal was different from another appraisal, if that's what I'm getting. Because again, we just go out, we do have our own appraisers, and they will try to get the best comps they can in the market before we set that minimum bid. So if there was a situation where you were looking at a piece of property that didn't, again, we use our own appraisers, and appraisers, they have different opinions about what a piece of real estate is worth. So again, I can look into that. Feel free to get a hold of me, and I can try to track back of what happened on that specific piece of land. But hope that answers the question.
We do have one more veteran that has identified themselves. That's Derek Houston, who's a Navy veteran.
Great, thanks for your service. Now, not every one of those 9 properties that was offered up to veterans only in yesterday's Type 1 sale probably got picked up. Typically, most of them will, but not all of them. And so what we do with the properties that are passed up in the Type 1 auction is that we offer those to the general public in a continuous first come, first served basis. And again, that's called a Type 2 loan. And so you don't have to be a veteran to make a bid on Type 2 VLB land. In fact, we can even finance the purchase of Type 2 land from a non-veteran. The rate is increased to 7.75%, but they still get up to 30 years to pay that loan off, and they still typically only have to put 5% down. Now, on that down payment, because we are the direct lender on the land loan, we have some flexibility in what that borrower's credit profile looks like. And if we think that they're a little soft on the FICO score, we may ask that veteran for, say, 7 or 8% down on the land, because we want to do what it takes to make sure they get that land loan.
Steve, would an active vet that is stationed outside of Texas but has Texas as his permanent address be qualified for land-only purchase?
I believe they would, because again, they are active duty, and they have a formal designation. So as long as you're still carrying a Texas driver's license, that's pretty much evidence that you are a Texas resident and you are simply stationed outside of the state of Texas.
Another question, does the Veterans Land Board pay agent commissions on the Type 1 or Type 2 sales, or is the sale direct to the veterans?
The sale direct to the veteran. We have explored using realtors on the type 2 properties, but our current management just want to try to keep all of our costs down, and there's not a lot of property out there, so we're able to, at least management feels we're able to market these without the assistance of those realtors. But it's something that the marketing group in our organization have pushed for a long time, because we recognize that value. So we will keep having that conversation, and if the status of our commissioning those realtors who are assisting our veterans in the forfeited land, we will certainly let folks know.
Thanks.
Any other questions on the land loans? Let me mention a federal law called the Servicemember Civil Relief Act, which, among many other things, it recognizes that when a member of the Guard or the Reserves gets called up to active duty, he or she is giving up a civilian paycheck for a lower military paycheck, and that may adversely affect the service member's ability to pay his or her debts. So this law requires creditors to give an interest rate break to those who qualify. We do something very special at the VLB to meet the letter of this law. Any member of the Guard or Reserves who gets called up to active duty who has an outstanding VLB home or home improvement loan, the VLB will waive the interest portion of that loan payment until 90 days after the veteran comes home. We're not deferring that. We're not accruing it. We're not stopping the loan and starting it up again. We are forgiving the interest portion of the payment for that veteran. So all they have to do to stay current is pay the principal, the interest, the principal, the insurance, and the taxes. Sounds pretty good. It's even better if you have a land loan when you get called up, because the VLB will eat the entire payment for that veteran until 90 days after he or she gets home. We will even retroactively refund the payments of a veteran who qualified for relief under the Servicemember Civil Relief Act, but didn't know until after he or she came home.
Steve, how do we get more information on land sales?
The best resource would be our website. And the first navigation link on our homepage is for land and home loans. But you can always talk to a live person. The VLB manages the state's Veterans Hotline, which is 1-800-252-8387. So one of my colleagues will be happy to talk to you in detail with any questions you have that the website does not answer.
Great, thanks.
Texas is a great place to be a veteran because we're so generous in the benefits that we offer our veterans. And one of the biggest benefits is a 100% property tax exemption for any veteran who's getting a check from the VA that shows that they either have a 100% disability rating or a 100% unemployability rating. That's a great relief. It has nothing to do with loans. It's just a matter of those veterans who have a homestead. Now, there have been some loopholes closed in the last few years that I want to go over. One of the questions is, when does the unmarried surviving spouse of a veteran who qualified for that 100% disability exemption, when does she qualify? Or in the case of widowers, when does he qualify? Well, the first date that exemption took effect was January 1st, 2009. So it's logical that the veteran had to be alive and have that 100% rating on or after the 1st of January 2009, and then subsequently pass away for that unmarried spouse to pick up that exemption. I remember a very clear conversation I had with a widow at one of our benefits fairs a couple of years ago. Said she went to the county, applied for the exemption, and they said, "You don't qualify." And I said, "Well, how long since your husband died?" And she said, "Oh, well, he's been dead for 15 years. So again, that pushes the question is no, there was no exemption before the January 1st, 2009 to pass on to that widow. Sorry for that. But you do apply at the county which you live in. Many lenders will look at the exemption up front and qualify the veteran for more home because they're not going to have to pay property taxes on that. So make sure that you veterans out there who qualify and surviving spouses who qualify out there that you do talk to your lender about that exemption and how that can help you qualify for more of a loan.
Steve, we have a question from a disabled veteran who is also a real estate broker. He wants to start coming to the seminars to help veterans find homes. Is he allowed to come and represent his business? Also, will he get something to show that he has done this Veterans Texas Land Board training?
Great questions. We typically used to invite realtors to participate in our benefits fairs that we would hold all over the state. But when Bill McLemore, our new director, came in, he was the head of the VA for this region, and so he has very close ties with the Department of Veterans Affairs. So we made a shift last year, and now we are doing those benefits fairs in VA hospitals and clinics. And they don't allow for-profit organizations to be in those. So sadly, we used to invite realtors to have tables at our events so that they can meet face-to-face with potential veteran clients. Sadly, we're not able to do that now because of our partnership with the VA. If that changes, we will certainly let people know. The second question is how do you verify that you've been through the training? Well, in our case, when we basically will enter the MCE completion roster, and a gentleman in my office will verify that your license is active and that you did participate in the training, and that will show up in your MCE credit on your personal Trek profile. All right.
We have one more.
Another
Steve.
question.
Says, thanks. I've been a realtor for 29 years. Unfortunately, I never think about some of these great programs. Would like to have the info, as it would work great for some folks. So again, you've mentioned that we'll get that to them.
Right. Thank you. Back to these property tax exemptions. Another issue was that even though the family of a 100% disabled veteran was getting a property tax exemption, the families of those who died in the line of duty weren't getting anything from the state. And so the legislature, when they came to realize that was an injustice, they put up a proposed constitutional amendment that was passed last November. Basically says that those 350 to 400 families that lost a loved one in the line of duty will get that property tax exemption. The other situation is with these Homes for Heroes programs, where a disabled veteran is gifted an adapted home that has been adapted to meet his or her service-connected disabilities. Sadly, what was happening is that some of these families were getting $400,000 and $500,000 homes, and they couldn't keep up with the taxes, and they were getting foreclosed on for non-payment of taxes. So now we've approved a constitutional amendment that basically says that veteran who gets that gifted home is going to have a tax exemption that tracks what their VA disability rating is. So if she's got a 100% rating, she's not going to pay any property taxes on that gifted home. If she's got a 50% rating, she'll save half on her taxes. Okay?
Great. And we have another question. Could you repeat what you said at the beginning, exactly what constitutes double dipping between VA and the VLB?
Well, it's not so much VA and VLB, it's that the state of Texas is issuing tax-exempt bonds to be able to provide that pool of cheap money to loan out. And since the veteran is getting that tax benefit from that tax-free pool of money for the purchase money, the IRS doesn't allow what we call double dipping by refinancing from that same pool.
Great, thanks.
Now, there are property tax exemptions for veterans with less than 100% disability rating, but they are not very much, because when this law was originally passed, the average selling price of a home in Texas is half of what it is today. But it's probably worth filling out the paperwork and take your realtor to lunch. Now, if you do have the great honor and privilege of working with a wounded warrior who might benefit from some of the paraplegic and adaptive housing grants that the government has, if that veteran doesn't know where to turn to get evaluated for that program, just have them call the Veterans Hotline again, and we will direct that veteran to a counselor at the VA who could assess what the veteran's service-connected disabilities are and what type of prescriptive adaptive improvements should be made either in the design of a new home or in the rehab plans for an existing home. And that is the end of the formal presentation. This is a picture of one of our veterans' homes down in the valley. This is one of our military cemeteries in the valley as well. As I said at the beginning of the presentation, all of you are now eligible to use our designation, which is VLB Preferred Real Estate Professional. You can use that in your marketing. If you want to use the VLB logo, only those who've been through the training like you can use our logo. You have to email me directly to get that logo and our usage guidelines. Okay?
Steve, would you repeat? We're going to send this out to everybody. VLB Preferred. What is it?
Yeah, that exactly as Amy's typed that.
Okay.
VLB Preferred Real Estate Professional.
Okay, and
Thank
we'll
you
send
for
that right
sharing
out to all of
that.
you.
We have marketing tools on the Realtor listing. Again, we let you join a list of VLB trained real estate professionals, and so a veteran looking to partner up with a veteran friendly and knowledgeable realtor can find you on our realtor database, just like they can find a participating lender. You go to our homepage and you'll see the navigation in red has all the links on the left side of the page. You want to click on land and home loans, and that will take you to a next page where you find a realtor, and you're going to want to go to the realtor login page. It's going to ask for your TREC license number. Now, don't be surprised when you get a nasty error message saying we don't recognize that license number. It's because it's the first time you've entered it. So ignore the nasty message and move on to the form. This is what the form looks like. Let us know if you're a sales agent or a broker. If you're an agent, let us know who your broker is. And fill out the rest of this form. At the end of the form, you'll see a button that says Update. Very important. You hit update, you get taken to another online form where you can designate up to 10 counties where a veteran can find you. So just because you live and work in Dallas County, we want you to be able to get referrals from Collin County and from Johnson County and any other county around here. So I think we have a question.
What is the email address to get the logo?
It's my email address is steve.hudson@glo.texas.gov. Let me also give my office phone number. Feel free to call me anytime. That number is 512-936-2553. Or you can always call, since I'm on the road 50% of the time, you can always call the Veterans Hotline and they can try to track me down.
And Amy just sent that information out to everybody, and we have another question, Amy.
I also handle the advertising and marketing for the Dallas Gun Show at Dallas Market Hall. I work with a lot of veterans, so this information has been extremely helpful.
Oh, that's good to know. And Kim, if you or any of the other folks on the call want VLB marketing materials, we're happy to send you as many of our brochures that summarize our loan programs as you can carry. So just contact me directly, and we're happy to provide you with some summary information that you can share with your veterans. We do let you know that We have to activate your listing as a realtor on our database. That way we're assured that only those realtors who've been through our training get the benefit of that database. So it takes us typically 5 business days to update and activate your account. So if this time next week you don't see your name showing up in that database, contact me directly, and I, since the gentleman who does those activations is just a couple of feet away from my desk, I'm happy to pass that on and get you on there. We do hope that you will follow us on Facebook. I want to point out that this lovely photograph here is a 5-acre tract of Type 2 land that overlooks Lake Buchanan in the hill country, and it had a 1-acre pond. We sold this lot for $37,500. And it just shows what diamonds are out there to be found in our forfeited land sales. But that's it. If you have any other questions, I appreciate your time and your interest in serving veterans. Thank you so much for those who served, and again, the military family members.
Let's see. Steve, thank you so much for your presentation. It looks like we have time for just one more quick question. Amy, you want to?
Sure. One of the attendees, Eric, is also a registered nurse at the VA hospital. And Steve, if you have a seminar at our hospital, do you have a problem with Eric talking to the vets?
Oh, not at all. Again, the only prohibition VA has given us is we can't have for-profits at tables at those events anymore. But for instance, we'll be up here sometime later this year at the Fort Worth Clinic and at the Dallas VA Clinic. So if you follow us on what we call our benefits fairs, you can track the schedule of those benefit fairs from the VLB website. So if you'd like to come show up there, by all means, come on by and meet some other veterans.